So this is how I make the blowtorch. This is a really good fly if you need, like, let's say you show up to a pool and either nobody's there or there's a lot of people there, and you want to throw something that's going to grab the fish's attention. A blowtorch is always great to throw out there. Um, it just works really good. I'm making the jig version because I think that works better. Because I'll use it like as a nymph and let it float down to the bottom, and I want it jigged so that it doesn't hook onto the rocks. So for this one, I don't go too big on these beads, and I actually make these a lot smaller. This is kind of a bigger size, but I want to do it for the camera. So I'm using a size 16 jig force fulling mill jig hook, and then I'm using a 2.8 millimeter copper bead head. You can use copper, silver. Old gold seems to work really good. I like that, but old gold and copper just seem to be the ones that work really good. I use silver, and then I'll show you put different colors for the back part of it as well. I'm going to use an orange for the tail right now, but you can use any kind of yarn. I mean, anything that's going to fray out after you clip it will work. Like, if you want, you can use like a red yarn for the end here if you want to do red. I'm gonna do orange because it's just more flashier. So I have, this is really beat up too. I just like found this on the floor of my stuff. So I'm just gonna use this orange here as my tail on this. So let's get it wrapped, get it going. So we got the bead hook and everything. Got that hook good. So I'm not gonna, as usual, I don't seat my hooks. I want that area up there later. I am trying to make sure that the bead is sitting up onto the top of the hook there as much as possible. So I might just get a couple wraps in there. Sometimes it's all you just need to really kind of hold it there without building up like a big head. Like I said, I don't like building up heads there, even though I just did a little bit. And then we'll clip that off. Again, I don't dress my hooks. I don't find any point in doing it. Not that there's a point behind it, but I just don't do it because I try to keep everything as thin as possible. Plus, I'm saving material, so I don't know. I don't go too crazy with it. What I do with the orange here usually is I'll grab a chunk of it here and I'll cut it off, like a couple inches, let's say. You don't really need a lot, especially with a small flyer. And then I'm just gonna wrap it together, right? I'm gonna fold it over itself, and then I'll look at it for the fly and I'll be like, how thick do I want that tail to be? I'll even fold it a fourth time here if I need to. Let's see how that clump's gonna look. I'm gonna cut this off at the end, so definitely want to put extra off the tip here. So I'm gonna work my thread down a little bit here more because I'm gonna grab this in really at the tip here because I made a really small piece of it, right? So we don't need a ton of it in there. Do a couple loose wraps right there just to get it on the hook, and pull it up to the top, and then look out my back end here to have enough. The blowtorch, you don't need a really huge tail out the back end, so I'm gonna wrap down on that, hold it up like this just to make sure it's up on the top of the fly, and I'm just gonna go back to there. That's about all I need. It doesn't have to be too fancy actually. That's good, so we'll leave wrap there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it off here, right at the very tip. Cut it off square. Boom. There we go. And that's your tail. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap in a piece of wire. For this one I'm using a silver SX, like really small kind of wire here. The wire is really not like, you're not looking to make the wire shine on this fly. You're just using it because I'm using peacock. Don't have that many left, so hopefully I'll make it work. And I'm using this to kind of extra hold down the peacock, because that's what will get destroyed by the fish first, is they like to pull off that peacock. So I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to put it up into the head of the bead there a little bit, just so it's in there. I'm going to start wrapping it. Looks like I grabbed it up top there, but I got a little gap there in the middle. I mean, I got a little bump right there, which I don't like, so I'm actually going to build the fly up a little bit just to kind of match that bump. If I used more material, I would have started it up on this part of the hook and brought it down, but I didn't. So I'm gonna make sure the wire, I don't really care what it is in there, but I want it over on this side here so that I can start with it when I need it. Now everything in there is pretty even and good, so I'm happy with that, right? So next what I'm gonna do is I'm going to wrap back up to the top here, let me bury that orange there. Again, I'm just gonna make sure this is uniform in there. And then now I got the wire in there, I got that all set up. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is take some peacock hurls here. This stuff is like from 1960 something still, and it still works. I got this bag, like this, someone left it on my door one day, and I've been using this stuff, and it works still to this day. So this fly, I'm gonna grab at least let's do 3 pieces on this at least. Try to get longer ones. I think that might have been all I got there. But alright. That should do it. So I'm gonna tie these into the fly here. Get all of them matching together. And then I'm gonna put them on the side over here. I'm just gonna make sure I grab them somehow there. Go on the side here. I'm like folding everything over to that side today. I'm gonna do that. Let's do that. Clamp it in that way. There we go. Now I'm gonna work down with the peacock curl until I get to the back of the hook again. And then, this is a little trick that I learned, is that now what I'm gonna do is, I'm going to take the peacock curl and I'm gonna wrap it around my black thread here, right? So I'll start, gotta be gentle with it because stuff like this is like 60-year-old hurl here. But I'm gonna wrap it around, just like kind of like loose wraps. I'm just wrapping it around the thread, and this is gonna, you know, put some more strength into the peacock curl. As you can see now, it's just kind of wrapping up on. It's almost like becoming like dubbing. But this is the trick to how I do it. Again, they don't have to be tight circles; they can be thin. And then now I'm going to hold the string and the hurl together and keep it tight, right? And I'm going to start wrapping it towards the camera there. And the first one's always like the tough one because it wants to be like thick and weird. So it doesn't have to be, as you see, I'm just kind of building it up as I go. But just trying to keep it somewhat even in there. Obviously I try to get a little thicker towards the top there a little bit, but you can see it's kind of going around, but see, once it moves around and stuff, it's pretty good stuff there. So now you can see I'm kind of down to the end of the hurl almost, see? And I'm just gonna now hold the hurl off to the side here, peacock hurl, and I'm gonna get 3 wraps under it here. 1, 2, really want to hold it out there actually like this. Make sure we get that 3rd one in there good. 3, and then hopefully I'm not losing all the material here. I'm gonna hold it back up again here as soon as I can get some of it here and wrap in front of it. But it just seems to want to do its own thing here today. But it's definitely wrapped in there, so that's what I want. And then looks like I only got 1 little piece left here, maybe. Cut that free. I try not to build up the behind the bead again because that's gonna be, I need to put more stuff in there. CDC hair and stuff. So now I'm going to wrap up the metal. I'm gonna cross hackle it. So we just went that way. I'm gonna come this way now. Just kind of go against it a little bit. And keep these kind of tight spirals because I do want it again to just protect. And like you see, it really doesn't show up on the fly too much. So it's not like, you know, this thick ribbing that you see on other flies. I'm seeing that little piece of hurl sticking out there. So once I get up to the top up here, I'm just gonna do 1, 2, 3, and then I'll just, as usual, do like 1, 2, and then I'm going to pinch this stuff and helicopter it off. Hopefully it breaks right where I want it to. There we go. Still get that little piece of peacock in there. Just cut that off without cutting my string. There we go. I can't see it in there. There we go, that's gone now. Okay, so now that we got that set up, See, if I had seated the bead and everything, I really wouldn't have any length here to do anything back on this side here. I actually can take it down a little bit, a couple times here too. Actually, no, I just wrapped the wire. I'll do one there. And then I'm gonna take my CUC hair right here. I mean, this stuff is the best for your summertime flies and stuff. You always want to put some CUC on there because it just always is a really good fish attractant. It looks really buggy underwater and it looks great. So on all my like summertime nymphs, I always put on some CDC hair here to keep it going, get it going. All right, and then I try not to grab too thick of a stem piece because I don't want to go too crazy. Basically, what I want it to do is it's going to come down this way, and then I want enough to go out towards the back of the fly here, right? That's pretty much it. I'll pinch off any extra. I just don't want to use too little, right? So we'll get this in there. You can pull some of the fibers free if you need to. Whatever you got to do to get down to that stem. Like, as always with most of my flies, I like to get a stem in there. Get like a couple wraps on that stem there, 3, right? I'm going to fold that stem back and pinch it again. See? Now that's held in there that way. Alright, so now I'm going to leave my thread up towards the top there, and I'm going to, because you see there's a little bit of a gap in there, I'm going to hackle the feather in whatever direction I'm going to hackle it, but I want it to go so that it is facing, well, first of all, I want these hairs like that are going in that direction. I want them to be facing, you know, the shiny part towards the front, but it's really hard to see the shiny, but basically you can see the way the feather's going. You want it, I'm going to spin it probably, might spin it this way. Yeah, and that will keep it on there, but I'm going to spin it up to that thread now and then catch it up there. Instead of just throwing it everywhere on here and then trying to catch it, it'll make it more of a mess. So that's what I'm going to do with that there. I do recommend using hackle pliers when you got CUC. And of course, that was like the one thing I didn't leave out for this fly. And I don't know where I put it, as usual. It seems to happen every time I do these flies. I like put out everything that I need. Except for, oh, I left it right here. Haha, right where I needed it. Okay. Smoking weed. All right, so I'm gonna grab the end of this with the hackle pliers there, and if it hangs, I'm happy. All right, good. Let me get my thread out of the way here, and then I'm gonna hackle it towards you guys there because that's the way it wants to go to keep the feather facing the direction that I want it to face. So there's one. I can already tell the hackle plier is gonna fall off this thing. Get a good grip of it there. Let me see if it wants to go this direction more. Might be able to twist it around here. Yeah, let's see. Just use my fingers. Hackle pliers are getting me pissed off there. I'm not trying to get like boatloads of this stuff on there. Make sure you pull it out with your fingers like this too, because you're wrapping down on it, so it's like it wants to like hold, not get free, you know. So you want to try to just free it up here a little bit as you're going through with it. Just kind of pull it out there and get that CDC hair showing good. That's why I don't mind. I keep rewrapping this, but I'm doing it on purpose because I'm trying to get it more buggy looking. I want some of this stuff to stick out more for me here. Alright, now it's getting buggy looking there. Keep wrapping up all those threads right there. I don't want to do that. I'll go up to the top here. This one, the hackle pliers would work. So I'll do one. See how much CDC hair there I'm losing? I don't want to lose all that. I want to use some of that there. So try to do some loose wraps here. Or I mean, wraps up to the top again, but trying to not pinch in all this CDC. Definitely chose like the wrong feather for this one, for this fly here. At least want half the feather to be going back in that direction there, which finally now it's doing. As you can see, I'm just kind of, sorry I got my fingers in the way. So I'm gonna do one, I'm clamping it down. 2 and 3. That clamps it down there. And then I'll do 3. Sometimes, look at that, I can even leave it all on there. 1, 2, 3, because it's CEC here. Look at that. I don't even have to really go crazy and cut the stem off or anything, because I can actually use it now. It is actually going to work, if you can see. So what I do is I grab all of it here, and I pull it back, and then I start using this other finger, my thumb, and I start just yanking the stuff off of my fingernails, and I don't want to go longer than the fly. I'm trying to go right before the orange hot spot, or the orange tail there, right? So, okay, so now I got the CEC on there, right? So that's going to be all buggy and nice and work really good, right? All right, and then what I want to add to it now is I want to add some, I use ice dub peacock because I'm already using the peacock in there. So I'm just going to use some of this ice dubbing, and I'm going to use that to just kind of make the thorax towards the top here of the fly. So I'm just going to use a little piece here, just turn it in one direction. You really don't need a lot of this stuff. I'm actually taking like half of this off already. You really just need like 1 or 2 wraps because it's a small fly, and all you're doing is adding just something shiny in between that hair, and we'll push that up, and the bead eye right there. So I'm only going to go like 1, 2, that's about it right there. Like, I don't want to go anymore. Like, that's all I need. Put 1 more wrap in there for good luck. Alright, now you see I kind of got like 2 buggy things going on there. I got a little bit of that peacock curl in there now, right? And then I got that CEC hair. So you see how it all works there, like that, right? Actually, this tail I could have made a little bit more on the top, but it's working out good right there. Now I'm just gonna add glue and whip finish it. Try to use a small amount of glue here. There we go. That's a large amount of glue. You can wrap it a couple times to get the glue onto the fly, like 1, 2. Now there's a nice glob of glue in there drying, like as I do this. Grab my whip finisher, and then I'm gonna try again. I got a lot of glue in there, so I'm pretty satisfied about that. So I'm just gonna do like 1, 2, 3, call it a day. Because I can see the glue in there and the peacock curl and everything. I don't even tease out the peacock curl or anything because I'll just destroy the CDC feathers doing that. But you can see now, that is how I make a blowtorch. I don't know, people make them differently, all different stuff, but that's my basic theory on how to make a blowtorch. Use different color heads, different colored yarn back here. That's how you get creative with this fly. And like I said, if you show up to a pool and want to be the first one in there, this will definitely catch their attention. Or if everybody's throwing a lot of little stuff and everything, throw one of these in there, and it works great. So good luck.